don't think I have enough time actually to do justice to Justice Charleton and his team, who have done a great public service. I had the good fortune to attend the Tribunal on a number of occasions, and I have to say I was struck by his patience, his sharp intellect and his wit. And I mean, some people have said he's indulged himself a little bit in this report. Well, I think he was perfectly entitled to, given some of the nonsense that he had to sit through and listen. His report is a searing indictment of a number of state institutions, namely on Garda Síochána and Tusla, of the media, where he has castigated a whole number of journalists as frustrating the work of the Tribunal, of frustrating the public will, of the PR companies, which he's characterised correctly as far as I'm concerned as a hideous development in Irish public life with the domination of spin. And while in some ways you could say that he's probably been a little bit polite with his language regarding some of the individuals who appeared before him, the implications are clear. A lot of people who gave evidence at the Tribunal need, as he called it, a cultural shift requiring respect for the truth. In other words, he was told a whopping amount of lies. And in a tribunal which was established publicly to find the truth, I think he has laid bare a huge amount, and I think it is a real education for the Irish people in that regard. First up, and most importantly, is the total vindication that he has given to Maurice McCabe, and this cannot be understated. A fine policeman, a man of integrity, repulsively denigrated. And the best thing about how he handled Maurice McCabe is that there's no ifs, there's no buts, and this was absolutely crucial for Maurice and his family, for his wife Lorraine, for his father, the two rocks who stood behind him on this very difficult road. Because I'm delighted that everybody's patting Maurice on the back now and that he's the people's hero. But you know what? It wasn't always so. Justice Charleton pinpointed out the facts do not amount to an exoneration of the Gardaí regarding their treatment of Maurice McCabe. His complaints generated considerable animosity which continued over years. The station was divided. People didn't want to get involved. 430 former and current senior Gardaí written to by the Tribunal, and only 2 replied, and not one of them ever heard anything derogatory about Maurice McCabe. Improbable, to use Justice Charleton's words. And what he said was Maurice was looking for a better level of policing standards, and there was plenty who said there was nothing wrong. I absolutely know that. Arguing was a long and lonely place in the early years, and while the terms of reference concentrated on particular aspects and was never supposed to be a definitive account of policing in Ireland, in many ways, if you like, Justice Charleton picked up at the PAC, which was the culmination in some ways of the first round, not the start of this issue, but came on the back of about 2 years of raising works in here. I do think he dealt with the issues very well, and we don't have the time to go through all of them. But firstly, in terms of Francis Fitzgerald, and I know the Taoiseach tweeting that we should apologise to Francis Fitzgerald. Now, first of all, I would say that neither myself nor Deputy Wallace joined the baying hyenas here this time last year who were looking for the head of Francis Fitzgerald. We made many points over the years about her handling injustice, but actually not about people coming up in 2017 supposedly criticising Francis Fitzgerald for a knowledge she had in 2015 of the Commissioner's dealings at the O'Higgins Tribunal, knowledge that they all had in 2016 and didn't do anything about either. So I don't think I need to give an apology there. But what those emails did show was that what was going on at the O'Higgins Tribunal was not normal. It was a big deal. Emails, calls, frantic efforts to contact the Commissioner. And while Charleton didn't find Noreen O'Sullivan relied on false sex abuse allegations to discredit Maurice at O'Higgins, we never said that she did or believed that she did. But what was being said and what was shown, that evidence was produced at O'Higgins to question his motivation, with the words of Colin Smith and critically the letter of May the 10th and the complaint against Clancy. And while Charleton said that the letter went off the rails, it was strange, he put it down to a mistake. But ultimately for him the only issue was whether that had anything to do with Noreen O'Sullivan, and as other people said it hadn't, he didn't want to go there. But it still happened. And for me, it's quite convenient to put it down to a mistake. What would have happened if he hadn't had the tape there? So when people talk about poor Noreen O'Sullivan, can I say on the record, I know the Taoiseach saying that people who precipitated her early demise, well, we've been long on the record as saying that Noreen O'Sullivan didn't go quick enough, and that's not personal. She should never have been appointed in the first place. But did you hear of Templemore? Did you hear anything about false breath tests, about the treatment of other whistleblowers or any of that good stuff? Because that was all going on in the background as well. And while Charleton very accurately said that she had no hand, act or part to play in the campaign of Martin Callanan and Dave Taylor, that's not the same as saying that she'd no case to answer. In fact, he didn't accept her evidence in relation to the lack of engagement with her legal counsel or with her dealings with Noel Waters. She didn't accept his evidence either. In fact, he went on to say many things contrary to her evidence, that her evidence was disappointing and so on. In other words, and he talked about it being improbable, that she knew and couldn't but have known about what was being said about Maurice McCabe, and in essence did nothing in that regard. The report accurately condemns Martin Callanan and Dave Taylor, but that has been well aired. But they weren't the only ones. A whole number of retired Gardaí were absolutely criticised as being inappropriate and extraordinary in their behaviour. Assistant Commissioner Kenny, Superintendent McGinn, Chief Superintendent Sheridan. But what about serving members? Superintendent O'Reilly, promoted since the Tribunal started. But Charleton is quite critical. His decision to introduce Paul Williams to the D family caused further and completely unjustified pain. What's going to be done to him? What's going to be done to John Barrett, the head of Human Resources, whose evidence was called by Charleton preposterous, that he said he wasn't satisfied that the conversations alluded to by John Barrett allegedly with Cyril Dunn ever took place? He didn't believe his evidence in terms of Maurice McCabe either. Absolutely very serious stuff. The false rape case being an unbelievable coincidence. I accept fully the judgment of Justice Charleton on that. Counselling came out well, but my God, what an indictment of Tusla. Error upon error. Complete misinformation, filing cabinets being randomly selected. He said it wasn't a coincidence that they opened his file. They filleted a file that went to the historic sex abuse team and then replaced the file when it came back together. Points that we don't have time to deal with. Justice Charleton said he had a dreadful struggle to uncover the truth. I think he uncovered an incredible amount of it, and by him saying that it's a cultural problem, an attitude problem, and that reform of An Garda Síochána just coming up with new structures are not going to deal with it, and I agree with him on that.